Lads, we could be looking at the end of Motorsport games. We could be looking at the NASCAR license finally being sold to somebody else. This is from racedepartment.com. They released it yesterday, I think in the morning. And I told you guys August 21st was going to be a big day because of the second quarter 2023 financial results, where they were talking on that call and everything. And you guys could find the whole transcript of the call on motorsports.com, I think, if you want to go look at it. But essentially, we're going to kind of break it down. I will tell you guys essentially what is going on, and it looks like things that I have predicted are coming true. And so let's get into it. The reports are in, and they do not look optimistic. Motorsport Games has made its Q2 2023 earnings report public, which presents a bleak outlook on the company's future. They might not even see to the end of the year. What does it mean for the racing licenses that it holds? This was pretty expected, honestly. Nothing really surprising here. Remember, Motorsport Games had a influx of cash at the beginning of, or at the end of 2022, beginning of 2023, if you remember that. Well, all that money has basically already gone out the window. As Motorsport Games is listed on the NASDAQ, the company is required to publish reports about its finances for each quarter of a year, and again, you can read the full report if you want to. Stephen Hood, who's the CEO now since April, highlighted positive events of Q2 2023, such as the announcement of Le Mans Ultimate. Remember, that game is supposed to be coming out in December, and it's not really anything crazy. It's basically R Factor 2 reskinned into a Le Mans game, and I think they're charging probably like $50 for it, and it's not coming to consoles. So they, I guess, want to try to make it come to consoles, but that's probably not going to be happening. Surprisingly, the next-gen car update DLC for NASCAR 8.5 was also mentioned as a highlight due to it being an on track to become the most downloaded content update. Well, that's not a highlight. I like the spin, but it's not a highlight. Most people downloaded it probably because, and I think I could confidently say this, most people probably weren't excited for it. They just wanted to see what it was. They were curious. You know what I mean, guys? They were curious. It wasn't like, I'm gonna download this because it's great. No, they downloaded it because obviously they don't want to play NASCAR 21 Ignition. NASCAR 8.5 is obviously the better game, and they were willing to spend $10 just to see what it's like. They didn't have expectations. They didn't have any hope really that it would be great. And again, it didn't do well. And they say here it's surprising considering the Heat 5 is the predecessor to NASCAR 21 Ignition. Well, NASCAR 21 Ignition was so bad that people, you know, want to go to Heat 5. Now, what's not mentioned here is that the Heat 5 update was also very poor. It didn't work. It was very annoying. Yeah, I mean, the textures are lower quality, right? So I get you have to say this stuff for spin on earnings calls, but most downloaded content update, that's not doing anything. What is happening for the end of the year? This is the very important part, guys. Very important. So will MSG see the end of the year? The most interesting part of the Q2 report is the cash flow and liquidity. See, I got it. There you go. There are key statements in the report informing about losses of 8.9 in the first 6 months of 2023. That's 8.9 million. So that leaves the company with cash and cash equivalents of 2 million as of June 30th, which have further been reduced to 1.4 million as of July 31st. So that is a loss of around $600,000. At that rate, they will be basically out of money by October, right? Yeah, basically sometime in October, if that rate will continue. Again, there's no games releasing, there's no content updates coming out, there's just nothing, right? So there's not going to be any revenue coming in, which is very poor. I think somewhere in this article they talk about the revenue, but it's not here. But I think the revenue number was around 1 point something million, 1.5 million, something like that. I don't know. It was something like that. Can't tell. Again, you got to go to, where is it? Full report over there to find the exact details. But essentially only 1.4 million of cash. They will probably run out of cash. As a result, quote, the company does not believe it has sufficient cash on hand to fund its operations for the remainder of the fiscal year 2023, and that additional funding will be required in order to continue operations. If that sounds similar It's because the same thing was said last year before that influx of 10 million investment came in from, I think it was someone from Motorsport.com. Now, that's not going to happen again. Pete, they're not, I mean, unless there's some really crazy things that happen, you're not going to get investment again when you're in the same position that you were in last year, where I remember very vividly, we might not be able to have sufficient cash on hand to complete 2022. They get the influx of cash at the end of 2022 to continue its operations. And again, you're in the same exact position. That's not going to happen. Options like equity or debt financing arrangements, selling licenses or company assets, and further cost reduction and restructuring initiatives are being explored, according to the report. Now, I'm going to stop there from this article. We're going to go back to the article again real quick, but we have to go to Mike Straw over here, who has been trying to get sources and stuff going on through here. And he said, per recent SEC filing, this was again yesterday at 1:28 p.m., Motorsport Games is currently in discussions with a third party for the potential sale of the company's NASCAR license. Very important here, because this was the key distinction I was talking to you guys about that I was still unsure of. I didn't know if the company would be sold or if they're going to try to continue being on their own and sell the licenses. Mike says, from what I know, the deal is nearing the final lap and close. He's working to find out the buyer, but I was told it's a known company. And again, if the license is being sold and it's a known company, I said this, I think it was last week, my three names, EA and Cody's, iRacing and Monster Games, I'm saying that as publisher and developer, right? So EA, publisher, developer, Cody's, publisher, iRacing, developer, Monster Games, and Milestone Games. It's just that one's the out of right field kind of one that might happen, but I don't think would. But yeah, that's just like the out of the right field. I don't see anyone else, because if it's a known company, well, then it's not indie company. It's not a small company. I don't know. I don't know. Could it be Activision? No, I just don't see Activision coming in as a publisher and doing it again. If you guys remember, Activision was the publisher for the Eutechnyx games. Eutechnyx was the developer. Activision was the publisher. They made the NASCAR 2011 the game. They made NASCAR Inside Line, which is still one of my favorite games of recent memory. NASCAR 14, which we're doing right now. NASCAR 15. NASCAR Unleashed. I think there was probably some others that they published as well in some of the arcade stuff. But if it's a known company, it really, to me, narrows down to EA and iRacing. I mean, if I had to place a guess, it would be iRacing. If I had to place a guess, because there's just little crumbs. There's breadcrumbs. I remember Dale Jr. tweeting about, you know, wanting like a similar style of Dirt to Daytona, and that, you know, that he knows a company that could do that. Obviously, Dale Jr. has investment in iRacing, so that's very obvious who he was talking about. But if I had to place a bet, it would be iRacing, and I would put EA second. But those are the two companies I would definitely be looking at in terms of who want to buy the license. Now, again, what's very important here, and we're going to get... Actually, let's quickly jump on Rusty's thing. So, Rusty, quick update for you guys. I recently had my last day as community manager at Motorsport Games. It was an experience of a lifetime, forever grateful for all. Rusty did a fantastic job, as always, trying to navigate a hellhole. He did incredible. So, you know, Rusty leaving just further proves that, you know, Motorsport Games and NASCAR are going their separate ways. The deal is almost done, and hopefully we get news on this soon. There's that September 30th date rolling around, but yeah. Now remember, one thing that's very, very key here is the company's NASCAR license, not the sale of the company. So that's good news and bad news, and here's what I mean by that. The good news, obviously, is that someone else would make the game, and actually a game would be made. The bad news is, if they are only trying to sell the NASCAR license, which they have a contract until 2029, and they want to sell that, right? Listen very carefully. The assets that Motorsport Games currently has with game engine, development, employers, all that stuff, right? That wouldn't be sold. Motorsport Games would continue to try to keep going. So if the NASCAR license gets sold, but Motorsport Games stays independent, right? Let's say they sell the NASCAR license for an X amount of money, they're able to continue, and they want to release the IndyCar game and Le Mans and all that stuff. Well, what that means for the NASCAR license, that you are looking at a very long delay for a new NASCAR game, because it would have to be done from the ground up, completely from scratch under a new company. If that is the case, you are not seeing a NASCAR game until 2026 minimum, because you just can't make a solid AAA game in a year or two. It's just, I mean, it's just not, even with someone like EA, right? Even with someone like EA, they have Madden. They announced NCAA. They announced NCAA a long time ago. I think it's been 2 to 3 years, and they're planning to get it into 2024. That 3-year mark is essentially how long it takes, minimum, to get a solid game out if you want to. So that's very important to know. If Motorsport games were to be, like, if they sold employees, assets, codes, all this stuff to someone else, then you might be able to get something quicker. Or, in another way, let's say iRacing purchased the license, right? Well, iRacing already has Monster Games. They already have a ground, you know, a base to work on with all of the Heat games and the World of Outlaws game, which was built off the Heat games. So, you could get something actually done fairly quicker. I would, you know, and Monster Games did not make a new game this year. That's another, just a slight little breadcrumb hint there. Monster Games did not make a new game. They just released a season update for World of Outlaws. That's all they did. They just released a season update. They could, in the background, have known or know that the NASCAR license is coming to them, and they might be preparing for that. You would get something similar to NASCAR Heat because it would be on the Unity engine, but obviously it would be better than NASCAR Heat 5 ever was, and better than World of Outlaws. It would be a solid game. It wouldn't be fantastic. It wouldn't look amazing, but it would be solid. AI would be good, and stuff like that. And obviously with iRacing involved, it would be really interesting to see how they would do that. And then iRacing would have NASCAR on the sim side and NASCAR on the console side, which is why they're still my favorite if this does go through. I'm sorry this is taking a while to go through, but this is a lot of information, and hopefully you guys are staying with me and understanding all of it. So the IndyCar game, will it ever see the light of day? This is actually the most surprising news to me. This is very interesting. Let me quickly get to that IndyCar game right here. We'll jump back up here in a second. But the BTCC, which we haven't heard of at all, right? British Touring Car Series, I don't think that's ever coming out. But the IndyCar game, doubtful. This one's very odd to me. The simulations engine is also the framework of the upcoming Le Mans game, that's from R-Factor 2, scheduled release 2023. According to the SEC filings, Motorsport Games still expects it to happen, but crucially states that the company is evaluating its ability to deliver new titles under its other licenses, such as with IndyCar and British Touring Car Championship, which may result in further adjustments to the company's product roadmap. So they're showcasing that there's doubt in the ability to release the IndyCar game. British Touring Car Championship, I have no idea where the hell that is. I've never even seen it, heard of it. I don't even know if that thing exists, but yeah. IndyCar does exist. IndyCar is playable. IndyCar has been playable for a while. They've been working on it in the Australian studios for a while. And I know the one man that's really working on that game the most has put a lot of effort into that game. I would be very surprised if that game doesn't come out. I'm being completely honest. It's so far down the road that if it didn't come out, that would be very odd. Very odd. And I still think, one way or another, the IndyCar game that is being made, whether it's published by Motorsport Games or it is bought out by someone else and someone else decides to release it, that game is too far down the road to be canned, to never release. I find that to be very difficult. So we'll see how that goes. I am still expecting the IndyCar game to come out. If it doesn't come out under Motorsport Games, I would expect it to still come out under another company, because it would be a real shame if that game just got completely wiped out, like, and no one ever touched it. There's been so much work, and I'm telling you guys, I've seen the game. It was a while ago, but even then, I've seen the game, and it does have promise. I've seen some of the things they were working on. I'm hoping that game eventually comes out one way or another. It'd be a real shame if it never came out. Will it be good? I don't know. But for IndyCar fans, it would absolutely suck if that game never came out, because Motorsport Games just shut down and then decided never to make it. That would be really stupid. So let's quickly jump up back here. As was rumored recently, The NASCAR license is most likely on its way out from Motorsport Games. The company's most recent all but confirms this. The sale of the NASCAR license is mentioned as one of the ways to reduce the financial problems that the company is facing, and MSG is currently in discussions with a third party for the potential sale of the NASCAR license. The document also confirms that the development of all potential NASCAR or future NASCAR games under Motorsport Games has been put on hold indefinitely. That's not a surprise. I know some employees, obviously like Rusty, but some others that were working on the NASCAR games that have been let go. There isn't a NASCAR development section there at Motorsport Games anymore. It is done. This is all the confirmation you need that the NASCAR license is gone from Motorsport Games. It's not happening. 0% chance. 0% chance, guys. Now you just got to see where it goes, what assets with the license goes with it, and how long it will take for that to be, you know, then made into a current game. The third party, again, iRacing or EA, we'll see who it is. Those would be my bets. Since the problematic NASCAR 21 Ignition launch, Motorsport Games only released the Switch exclusive NASCAR Rivals in 2022 using the license. Meanwhile, the planned 2022 British Touring Car Championship game never materialized. R-Factor 2 seeing the release of British Touring Car DLC instead, and R-Factor 2 and developer Studio 397 are part of Motorsport Games, hence the connection. We already talked about IndyCar. More licenses to move. Could these projects still be realized eventually? It is certain possible if other companies step in and purchase the relevant assets. The question is if anyone would be willing to do so. Should MSG be able to complete the sale of the NASCAR license, it might give the company enough of a boost to at least survive to the rest of 2023 and release Le Mans Ultimate as planned. But even if they release Le Mans Ultimate, that's not going to make them enough money at all. It's releasing on PC only. The reputation of the company is in shatters. There's no microtransactions of any sort. They're not going to make money. So they could sell the NASCAR license if they want, but it's not going to buy them enough time with the amount of money that they lose on a consistent basis. They're going to have to sell more than that. Licenses held by Motorsport Games. Obviously, you have NASCAR, you have IndyCar, you have the 24-hour Le Mans, you have BTCC, and then they have R-Factor 2 and KartCraft. Again, KartCraft is very important, linking KartCraft to the IndyCar game. The people that worked on KartCraft are the people that worked on the IndyCar game, and out of all these games, KartCraft is the best. Motorsport Games never made R-Factor 2. R-Factor 2, they bought Studio 397. Studio 397 made that game before Motorsport Games bought them out. That's not really anything to do with Motorsport Games. KartCraft actually is, and they are, those guys that were working on that were working on the IndyCar game, which is why I had a lot of promise and hope for that. If they wanted to survive as a company, they would have to sell both of these. IndyCar, right here. NASCAR, right here. They'd have to sell both. Only selling NASCAR will not be enough. It won't be enough. There's no way. That's at least my opinion on it. We'll see. What if the company goes bust before then? I don't think they will go bust before the NASCAR license is sold. I definitely don't think that. That is going to happen. So what if the company goes bust before then? Which means like kind of like the ultimate Le Mans Ultimate game. It might delay Le Mans Ultimate. It is hard to imagine Studio 397, the Le Mans Ultimate project, and R-Factor 2, which is based on not getting picked up by another party. The respective series might also terminate the licensing agreements, which could open the door for the return of the iRacing Indy 500 special event. That is, again, if IndyCar, the license goes, like, if it's not sold, the Motorsport Games just shuts down, then the licensing agreement will terminate, and iRacing will be able to do the Indy 500 agreement again, but there would not be an IndyCar game getting picked up. But, like I said, another company, if they want, can pick it up. They can. And I really, if this is the situation, I do hope for IndyCar fans and for racing fans in general that IndyCar game, I really hope, is not canned, shut down, or never sees the light of day. If there's another company that wants to get involved in that, I would really, really be happy if that was to be the case. iRacing has a very important and special and unique opportunity here to really take hold of the market on the console side. They have an opportunity. You and I both know how much money iRacing make on their sim service, but if they wanted to crack the console era and the console side of things, getting the IndyCar license and getting the NASCAR license on console side can really see iRacing in a way monopolize the section of console motorsport games. They can do it. Will they do it? It's something that's, you know, it's tough business. Do you pay up the money to Motorsport Games to get the licenses, or do you wait and bet that nobody else is going to come in, and that Motorsport Games is not going to be able to sell the licenses, but they are probably selling NASCAR, as we know. They're selling NASCAR as we speak. Or do you go in there and try to get it? This is why this tweet right here is so important. Trying to figure out who that is. Who is that buyer? It's very important to know who that buyer is, because that's going to determine like what's going on here and what iRacing does in terms of all that. So iRacing has such a good reputation with NASCAR and with IndyCar that they don't even need exclusive licenses. They could, you know, run their iRacing Indy 500. I'm sure they want that back. But if they want to get into the console side of things, it's definitely very interesting. So this was a terrific article from racedepartment.com. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, there's so many ads though, guys. so many ads. Shop our best creations delivered at Publix. Of course, Publix is fantastic. Those of you that don't live in the South, I'm sorry that you don't know what Publix is. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think? What do you think happens here? We have more clarity on the situation. I'm very happy to see that at least there's movement on this NASCAR license and that someone is going to pick it up. There's a little bit more uncertainty around the IndyCar license and the IndyCar game, but I will still stick to my point. I hope this game releases. I just hope it sees the light of day. Whether it's under Motorsport Games, whether it's under a different publisher, I hope that game sees the light of day. But that NASCAR license, and this is going to be very important over the next month to 2 months, where does it go? Who buys it? What assets get transferred? What assets are bought along with the license? And all that stuff. That's going to determine so much. At this point, I don't really have a preference. I just hope that the license gets put into decent / good hands, and we'll see how it goes. If I had to pick between iRacing and EA, of course I'm going to go with iRacing. I've seen EA's business strategy. I've seen what they do. If EA were to pick it up, it would be really cool to see Codemasters go after NASCAR. That's always been something I've always wanted. But I wanted that when Codemasters was separate and on their own. With Codemasters with EA, it would be a good game, but there would just be a lot of other stuff around it, which I could ignore. Like I would not cave into the microtransactions, but it's just a little bit annoying, that tactic of doing that. But also it would be, you know, for NASCAR itself partnering with EA again, I could see why it'd be very important and good for them, because the one thing EA are great at, guys, whether you like them or not, they're great at marketing. Absolutely fantastic at marketing. And EA would be able to market the living hell out of NASCAR along with Formula 1. Like F1 2023 is not the best game in recent years, and the sales have not been the best. But F1 as a whole, marketing-wise, for the sport, you get a lot more eyes when a company like EA market as much as they do, because they kind of really focus on that and focus on making money instead of making the fantastic game. So that's the benefit of EA. The benefit of iRacing as well. iRacing, you'll see, you know, that they kind of make all their money on the PC side anyways. They kind of want to go on the console side to make great games. So that's more of the, you know, pure, genuine kind of thing over there. And then, you know, it would actually be something very similar to Dirt to Daytona. They would do something like that. 100%. Monster Games and iRacing would implement Dirt into a NASCAR console game, create a pretty cool career mode out of that. So there's positives and negatives on both sides. I would be really surprised if it's not one of those two. I would be very surprised. I know it was a long video, but this was a very important video. And keep tagging me. Thank you, Cody, for tagging me in this. If you guys see any more news, keep tagging me. I would really appreciate that. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your day. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.